Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video, and today I've got the WE Knives Fornix for you here. This is a limited edition from WE, which is a bit of a departure for a couple of reasons. One, it's not like a usual limited edition where you're getting some kind of special fancy materials or something. It's just a very standard, broadly appealing knife. And in fact, it's at a lower price point than we see most WEs. So it's a bit of a head scratcher that it's a limited edition, especially because this design is kind of simple and cool. And I could see it being widely appealing. Like I could see WE selling tons of these. The only thing I can say is perhaps it's a bit of a test bed for a different segment from WE. So these are 200 bucks or around 200. They might have been 230. I'm not 100% sure, but the point is they're a little cheaper than WE knives usually come in at. And I'm wondering if perhaps WE is kind of testing the market and seeing how this kind of offering goes over. And if it goes over well, we may see more stuff like this from WE. I'm hoping that's the case. Quick rundown on the size and weight. I'm not going to belabor this. So 8 1/4, 3 7/16 on the blade, 3.5 inches of grip area plus a generous finger choil, 4 13/16 closed. All right, there you go. So that's in the pocket. And finally, 3.7 ounces, which is quite comfortable for carry. Overall, this is a pretty nice blade. It's pretty simple. This is not going to be a super, super long review because essentially, if you saw my first impressions, I kind of like this and there's nothing that has changed. I've spent some time using this and carrying it, and really the more time I've spent with it, the more impressed I am. It's just a really well done knife from a company that we know does a good job. So the blade up here, this is going to be my single complaint about this knife. I wish it were satin finished. Otherwise, I really, really like it. It cuts well. It's 20 CV steel. And well, I already complained about it not being satin. I kind of like that stonewash finish. It has some depth to it. WE tends to do a decent job with that. The edge geometry here is great. 15 thousandths behind the edge, and with that fairly thin blade stock, that means it cuts really, really well. Now, this is not maybe the knife that you're going to want for survival or something like that, but as a really nice EDC, even EDC plus style knife, it is going to do a really, really good job. Moving over to the action, there's almost nothing to say. If you've ever handled a WE knife, you know they can kill it, and they did with this. So nice drop shut. You can spidey flick this, which I greatly appreciate. You can also thumb roll it with that opening hole, or of course, the flipper tab. That stuff is all great. The lock bar is quite accessible, as we expect it from WE these days. Ceramic bearings, stainless steel lock bar insert, over travel stop. I mean, there's nothing unexpected in that area. What is expected is for WE knives to have a nice snappy detent and a smooth action, and this does. So there's not a whole lot to say. I said this is going to be a pretty short review. I will say this, the handle has a couple of things that I want to mention. Mostly, number one, I love the fact that I can choke up on this. Two, even with these just plain slabs of titanium, they have cut some nice angles here and rounded the edges. So this is actually quite comfortable in hand. And I've got to give WE a bit of credit for that because they often do fancier, more interesting, more detailed handles. And sometimes, when you kind of tone it down and go a little bit simpler, you miss something, but they didn't here. They've done a nice job. Sorry, I did knock my camera a little bit out of whack. So let's get that back. So the handle is comfortable. It does have a reversible clip that is fairly simple. I mean, it's just kind of a plain bent over clip, but in terms of functionality, highly, highly effective. Lastly, standoff construction. So cleaning this out is going to be quite easy if it's even, if you ever even have to do it. Works really, really well. So really, this is a good knife, and my main point is, hey, WE's done a nice job, and they did it for a more affordable price point, which is always welcome. The perplexing thing here is just that there are only a limited number available. The other recent limited run from WE knives is the WE Upshot. And again, this comes in at a more attractive price point. It's a really, really nice design and super duper appealing. Both of these I could see, selling really, really well. So the theme here is it's a bit weird that this is a limited run. However, that's sort of their prerogative. You can see the Upshot is a little bit smaller. Otherwise, though, very comparable. Similar the steel is the same. The handle, it's a different design, but it's still a simple, comfortable handle with a nice finger choil, fairly thin blade stock. Now they've gone with more of a focus. Come on. There we go. They've gone, sorry guys. There we go. They've gone with more of a bead blasted finish on the Upshot, which is not my first pick. I would have either preferred the stonewash from this or to go with a satin finish. I'd prefer satin, of course, over both. Again, bent over clip, a little bit of a pop of color on the Upshot. So those are two very, very comparable knives, and there are some still available out there at retailers. And, no doubt the ones that have already been purchased, you'll see some of those pop up on the secondary market. Let's bring in another WE knife before we move on to other brands. This is, of course, the Synergy, I'm sorry. The Synergy is much more in keeping with what WE is often doing. We've got really intricate milling. We've got really interesting design. Of course, this is an integral. And so we're kind of used to seeing some extra stuff from WE and, of course, paying for some of that extra stuff. So it is kind of cool to see just a simplified offering that's still highly, highly effective. I'm not going to go into too much about the Synergy, boy, I can't get that right. I'm not going to go into too much about the Synergy, but that it's kind of representing what WE often does. Let's go ahead and grab a zero tolerance here. That's a decent comparison. This is the, of course, 0308 bearing pivot flipper, titanium frame lock. Interesting knife, similar, same steel, not similar, exactly the same, 20 CV. Obviously, this is much larger, but I know a few of you will be familiar with how big this is, so that should give you an idea. Since we're kind of doing the overseas parade here, let's bring in a Besttech. This is the Besttech Tagata, designed by Morgan Cohen. Really, really nice knife, exceptionally good on the quality here. Besttech has really stepped up their game, at least in these higher end pieces. I haven't had a budget Besttech in a little while, but this is exceptional. And a few months ago when I reviewed the Vero Engineering Synapse, right, there's the Synapse. That's why I kept popping into my brain there. It had phenomenal action, fit and finish as well. And so this kind of puts me in mind of that knife. A little more expensive, but again, Besttech does have some more budget-friendly offerings. What else have we got here? Let's bring in a couple of Riot knives. So here we have the Sharp by Design Evo Typhoon. Here we have the Torrent. You guys know the Torrent is sort of my standard bearer whenever I talk about high-end knives. The Torrent gets brought up, and it's such a great knife. And Riot does such a good job. You are going to pay a little more. So again, the story here is you're getting a really nicely put together knife with great action, all the typical fit and finish and quality that you're used to seeing from WE knives, but at a little more comfortable price point. Let's see, we'll bring in another Riot. This, of course, is the Chavez 229 Liberation. I'm bumping the camera again. So again, a little bit more. I think these guys go for like $325 brand new if you can find one. I guess that's one thing they have in common is both of these might be a little hard to get. Finally, let's bring in the quintessential titanium frame lock. This, of course, is the Incosi, not the Sebenza, but Chris Reeve, you got to bring him in and do a little comparison. Of course, everyone's familiar with the Incosi and with the Sebenza in terms of size, so that should kind of allow you to get a handle on what we're dealing with in that particular department. So what are my overall thoughts on the WE Knives Fornix? It's really good, guys. Like, there's nothing I can really complain about. The price point is a welcome change from WE Knives. It's nice to see them, coming in with something a little more comfortable for the pocketbook. And it's just a really cool knife that would be a great higher end EDC for just about anyone. Really, really nicely done. I think WE deserves some credit. And I hope that my theory is correct, that what's happening here with the limited runs is they've done a small number to see how they go. And if these don't sell and if they have a hard time selling them, then maybe we won't see other $200 knives from WE. But if it goes well and it's an effective test, then we might see more of this. And I kind of hope we do. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll talk to you soon.